The Irrational Competence Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Competence Podcast. We're talking college football, and it is the end of rivalry week. Yeah, it was a joyous time for me. I'll be sarcastic on that one to start off from this. This is going to be a fun record, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to tell you right now. And I'm joined by my co-host. What a better dad joke to do. The man who figured out what it's like to hit a bullseye. You get very angry bull. My co-host, Fresh. Fresh, how you doing, buddy?
Haps, relieved is probably the best term I have. Dogs survived the bugs, the nerds, on Friday night in an epic 8 overtime affair that I started the game at 39 years old, and I think I ended it at 42. It defines what rivalry week is. People talk about, oh, what's rivalry week? Well, first off, it's the last game of the regular season. You're playing, in most cases, you're playing a team that you're not just the players disdain and hate, and most of them know someone else on the other side of the field. The fan bases are in a tense, irate situation against each other. It is a full blood feud, 365. And you add in coaches coaching for their lives, bowl eligibility at stake, conference championship game bids at stake, bragging rights. Everyone laying on the line, or even nowadays, players giving their all so they look good in the portal if they want to leave. Like no one's going to slack off and try to, avoid playing at the highest level because someone's going to have tape of it. Everybody giving everything. We got people in A&M sawing off, Longhorns as the thing that they do. And the only thing that was probably the most productive thing of their entire night was sawing off something in the parking lot. You got, teams having to just be aware and play the full 12-game schedule. We saw chaos. We expected chaos. And it gave us a full feast. Everyone, good, bad, or indifferent. We talk, records literally throw them out the window. It does not matter. You got to show up and play. And it's, I think you're lucky and you're relieved to come out victorious after rivalry week because it is rare and it is a battle and a war. And it's something that we cherish and we live for 365 going forward.
Yeah, there's a lot of luck. There's a lot of survival by teams because some of these games that we thought weren't going to be competitive were very competitive. You take a look at USC Notre Dame. That game tied at halftime, and then Notre Dame put the boots to USC in the second half. Syracuse, huge comeback by them, outscoring Miami 28-17 in the second half. Tennessee, first half, they're being kind of taken to the woodshed a little bit by Vanderbilt in the first quarter. They came back in the second half as well, kind of ran away with that one right there as well. I mean, in all, consolation here, at least SMU put the boots to California, and we are both very much right about South Carolina. I cashed the check on that one. South Carolina beating Clemson there as well. So that was a fun game. I wish I probably could have enjoyed that a whole lot more. But, Fresh, it's just one of those things with rivalry week. No matter what you have happen, you got to live with this result for 364 days. It's got to sit and eat at you for that long. I mean, you take a look at something like Arizona State and Arizona, 49-7, and I don't even think it was as close as the scoreboard says there.
No, not even that close. They could have put 70 on if they want to.
Yeah, Missouri, Arkansas, entertaining game in the snow there as well. You have Farmageddon going on, which is crazy as well. But, Fresh, let's get to the elephant in the room, and I guess I'm going to have to go this. I told Fresh before the record he's not going to get a whole lot of chance to speak tonight because I'm going to go on to my little soapbox here and say this about the game that happened up in Columbus, Ohio. Now, I'm going to lead this off first and foremost because I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm not in the Fire Ryan Day camp. I'm not in that group. I'm not in that Chip Kelly Fire Ryan Day. And there's a lot of reasons why it makes a lot of sense not to fire him. I get it. People are going to point to one thing and one thing only. They're going to point to the last 4 years against the school up north, up against the Wolverines, and they're going to say this is the reason. They're going to make asinine comparisons to John Cooper, which isn't accurate at all. You take a look at you completely do away with any positive things that the dude has done for your program. The fact that he's delivered you time and time again a top 5 recruiting class there. He's had you competitive against the best teams in the country. These are coin flip games. Yeah, more of them have gone against him have gone for him. But there's a lot of coaches who have faced a similar situation early on in their career as well. And again, the problem is if there was someone screaming out there in a lower school, a FBS or like a mid-tier FBS school or something like this. Because here's the problem. Too many times in all of college football, you wind up going and firing a coach. And I'm going to get into the game here in a minute, but let's talk about the firing Ryan Day comments right now. Everyone's going to say, well, it won't happen to us. It won't happen to us. Bill, you take a look at Bear Bryant. How long did Alabama take to get back to relevancy after Bear Bryant? Long time. Mac Brown leaves the University of Texas. They get rid of him. Texas is now finally back with Steve Sarkisian, and that was not an easy ride there. Take a look at what the Wolverines did with Lloyd Carr, and Lloyd Carr stepping away. How long it took them to get back to prominence. Shane, you take a look at Frank Beamer from Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's still not back as much as we want them to do. USC, Pete Carroll leaves USC. USC is still not back. Tennessee is just now starting to get back under Josh Heupel when they got rid of Phil Fulmer. So don't give me this nonsense that you're going to come at me with this and say, well, Ohio State has more resources. Yeah, damn right we have more resources than everyone else. It's one of the premier programs in the country. It is an elite level program in the country. I get it. You have the resources there. But so did Alabama. So do the Wolverines. So did USC. So does Texas. Who has more resources than Texas? Nobody. It's real easy to say. Nobody has more resources than Texas. And guess what? All of those programs thought it wouldn't happen to us if we did not have a plan for the transition thing. So being a prisoner of the moment and just losing your mind and saying that we're going to fire a coach just because he's 0-4 against the rival right now. No, he did win one game, and everyone doesn't want to give him credit for that. But, heaven forbid that he actually coached that game, but everyone wants to give the credit to Urban for that one. No, he did win a game against the Wolverines. I do need to remind you about this. The other problem I have, too, is you take a look at this past game, and everyone wants to put the blame on the coaching staff. And again, Chip Kelly could have called a better game. Ryan Day could have called a better game. The fact that you didn't throw deep on this Wolverine secondary that was missing their best defensive player and they were missing their best offensive player. You didn't throw the ball deep down the field once just to check them, just to spread out that defense, just to say, you need to be worried about us. I got Jeremiah Smith. I got Emeka Ibuka, both future first-round draft picks. You got Carnell Tate, who's one of the best number 3 guys in the country. You got a guy like Brandon Innes. You have the speed that you can push the ball down the field. The fact that you didn't do that once, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. But it's not the coaching staff who throws 2 interceptions and not good interceptions where the ball is dramatically behind the receiver. That's on Will Howard. It's not a field goal kicker who shanks it within 40 yards, not once, but twice. You shank a kick 40 yards twice. It's the fact that you miss tackles. Now, again, Fresh, you said earlier before we got on there, defense played lights out. Defense deserves all the credit in the world. Jim Knowles, you deserve all the credit in the world. And again, they were on the field way too long in the second half there. You couldn't sustain any drives. But the fact that players don't execute and then we want to do is throw our hands up instead of criticizing the players who are basically paid professionals now due to the NIL deals, we go, well, they're still kids. We can't really criticize them a whole lot.
Nope.
It's crap now.
Kids out there got Lambos and Beamers. Crap. No way.
Yeah.
Kids got Lambos, Beamers, Chargers. No, they're professional athletes.
You want the glory. You want the praise when things are going well. You want all of the accolades. You deserve some of the blame as well. The fact that the fan base is putting this at the feet of a coach is just mind-numbingly stupid. I get it. You're frustrated that you've lost to the rival 3 times prior to this game. And this game, this one is inexcusable. Like, this one is a bad loss. And I hate the fact that we lost. It's been over 24 hours. We're going on 36 hours right now. And I still am not like in a good mood. I'm normally a type of guy, like, once I get all my frustration off, once I get my anger out, I'm good. I just move on and I don't hold grudges. I don't have any real issues with that. I mean, there's a few things that you could do to me that I would hold a grudge, but not a whole lot. And this one's sticking with me. This one's going to stick with me for a long time here, Fresh. I'm just completely flabbergasted. But here's the other reason. Here's the other reason you're not going to fire Ryan Day. Wednesday, coming up this week, is early National Signing Day. You have a top 5 recruiting class. You want to fire this coach? Even if you want to do it after the playoff, the stupid thing that you guys don't realize is that it completely opens up the transfer portal. Goodbye, Caleb Downs. Goodbye, Jeremiah Smith. Goodbye, Julian Sayin. Goodbye, top 5 recruiting class there. You're going to lose some of those guys. And even after the loss, the thing that impressed me the most is the kids that aren't actually enrolled at Ohio State right now. The kids that are sitting there still in high school and reaffirming their commitment to the program, that they're still going to sign on Wednesday and still deliver Ohio State a top 5 recruiting class. That means you have a leader in there. You have a guy who kids want to come play for. You have someone that they want to come follow with. And again, I haven't even gotten into the whole hubbub about after the fact. We're going to get into that here in a minute. But what I'm saying is you can't put this blame. This has got to go on the players and the coaching staff. But that doesn't mean someone's got to lose their job. Now, I get it. Fans, you want your pound of flesh. You want someone's got to have a head on a stick for me to be happy about this. Someone's got to lose their job because we lost a football game. Man, that's a terrible way to think. That's a terrible way to do it. And I get it. It's Ohio State. It's one of the top 3 programs in the country, and it is a high-pressure job. There's an enormous amount of expectations. But you can't ignore the good just because you're angry about a single game. And I get it. It's the most important game of the year. I grew up in Northern Ohio. I grew up in the 90s hating the Wolverines. I grew up through the Eddie George eras, the Orlando Pace eras, all of that nonsense. And I remember how happy when Jim Tressel actually took the Buckeyes up to Ann Arbor and won up there in 2001. I get how much this game means. Just because I get how much this game doesn't mean that in these moments, and I know this podcast is called the Irrational Competence Podcast, but sometimes someone with some rational thought needs to sit down and step in and go, this is what we need to do as a program. Yes, we can be better. And yes, this is this. But you need to have these things motivate you and not just call for someone's head. Because you know what? Who knows what happens then? Sharon Moore, again, Wolverines win this game, but they're still 6-6. Wolverines coming off a national title. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to be back into the playoff picture. I don't know. All right. Rants over there, Fresh. I gave you about 13 minutes of a rant there. So,
I mean, that's pretty straightforward and powerful. I mean, the one thing I will say, and I'll make a case potentially having him on the hot seat right now. I totally agree with him not getting fired before signing day and closing it out, especially before the playoffs. That makes no sense. The only way, in my opinion, he keeps his job is if he wins the national championship. And here's why. 2020, you went to the national title game in a COVID year and you played, 7, 8 games tops. Didn't really have the grind of the season. It was a weird year. It is what it is. 21, didn't make the playoff, didn't win the Big Ten. 22, made the playoff, lost in the first round. 23, didn't win the Big Ten. This year coming in with a superior roster after losing 3 straight to Michigan, which everybody hates, and their roster, as we've all seen, they can't even complete a forward pass. And you're supposed to be an offensive genius, and you bring in Chip Kelly, and you score 10 points. The pressure has got to be there. And Ohio State, you said top 3, I'll give you top 5 program in the country. You've got to be able to handle it and meet the expectation. The measure right now, if this is a 14 playoff, Ohio State is out. 12-team playoff, They're safe, they're fine, they're okay, they're moving forward. Hey, there's still hope. The season's not over. And that's where I kind of pause on the firing Ryan Day perspective for right now. You've got to see what this team does in the playoff. I will say in 2022, when they lost to Michigan and they got into the playoff, they were the 4 seed. They went down, they gave Georgia one hell of a freaking game. And they played, I'm going to say they probably played the best football game under Ryan Day's entire career that night. And if they had beaten Georgia, they would have smoked TCU and won a national title. But they didn't. If that team could somehow galvanize themselves these next few weeks and get themselves ready to go, whether it is on the road or hosting a playoff game, that is going to be truly tell on Ryan Day. You talk about the players. Might be time to look at Will Howard and ask the question. He was pretty dang cocky when he beat Indiana and smoked out a cigarette, imitation-wise on the sideline there. He didn't bring that smoke, pun intended, on Saturday afternoon in the shoe versus Michigan. He looked like garbage. He looked scared. He looked intimidated. Actually, kind of like the way he started with Penn State, throwing the pick 6 early on. He's not ready for the big moment. Kansas State, when they played Alabama in the Sugar Bowl in his biggest game, he looked like trash. Maybe he's not a big game quarterback, but there has to be something, there has to be a decision made right there of this entire football team. It's not just about him. It's about the entire program. Is there a quarterback on this roster that gives them a better chance to win? Because if not, there's going to be a lot of people hitting the portal. There's going to be potentially coaching changes. This playoff is going to be very important for Ryan Day. And the comment of, it might have been like a backhanded comment that he started on third base. People are going to start pulling that to him. And on the recruiting trail right now, people are going to start holding that to him. You can give out all the NIL money you want, but if the dudes aren't winning, people are going to start holding that recruiting perspective of this guy can't coach. He's not going to get you a national championship. And the rumor mills on the recruiting trail, they're always smoke and they're going to puff it. You've got to make decisions for the betterment of the overall. You always constantly brought up Mark Richt and how the program was at one level and it could be better and you had to make decisions. Not exactly there with Ryan Day, but you're getting close. And there's too much talent on this Ohio State football team on both sides for them to struggle.
Let's pause there. So let me stop you before you go through that one, because I've gone through all of this in my head and I've played all of this out. First 5 years of Georgia, how many losses does Kirby Smart have? First 5 years.
He had 5 in his first year.
15. I'll help you. 15. Nick Saban, first 5 years at Alabama. Now, granted, Saban won that. I'll give you that. But Saban, first 5 years at Alabama. How many losses does he have?
Probably about
12.
13.
12.
You can talk about the losses all you want, but Ryan Day has an expectation. He's got to freaking win. The Big Ten across the board is not as deep. He's got to win, and he's not winning the big game. It's not like he's
understand that.
Not beating Michigan 4 straight years. That is a problem. You guys hold that higher than God. You hold that higher than God.
I understand that.
He hasn't won an Natty, and he hasn't beat Michigan. That is a problem that's going to eventually
you're
work
the same issue that is having. You only are focusing on the one negative piece on there. The dude has 10 losses in 5 years.
But that's the only thing that matters at Ohio State is playing for national championships and beating Michigan.
So we avoid all the other positives.
But Big Ten titles hasn't played with 2020 in a COVID season. These are starting to become a reoccurring issue. He hasn't won a playoff game since the COVID year. He hasn't won a Big Ten title since the COVID year. He hasn't beaten Michigan since 2019.
Right.
There's things are starting to carry themselves. Eventually, it's going to cost them on the recruiting trail and in the locker room. Players are going to quit.
But it hasn't. It hasn't.
It did on Saturday. It did on Saturday. It's done it the past 4 times.
Players quit.
The offense didn't look that great.
The offense didn't look good. The offense didn't execute it. There's a difference between not executing and quitting. There's a huge difference.
You haven't beat Michigan.
But again, you can't say that players are quitting, though, Fresh. There's a huge difference in that one. I'll give you the execution piece. I said the execution piece, but you can't say those players are quitting on it.
Only player on offense that I saw that actually cared was Judkins.
Henderson cared. Listen, you saw Henderson after the game was devastated. You take a look at all of those players. They were devastated. They did not quit on that man. They didn't execute. They didn't execute. Different story.
We'll find out in the playoff. We'll see what kind of team is. I think, like, going back to 2022, they have a chance to really reset themselves and get themselves focused on a playoff. But if they're going to start hearing chirps in the transfer portal, they're going to start chirps on the recruiting trail that Ryan Day can't get the job done.
Yeah.
And the Urban Meyer shadow is hanging over him, too.
Right. Well, that's great, but we'll stick. Hopefully, they'll be smart enough to stick with him because all those coaches wind up paying off after year 5.
And you know what I really would think the best right now for Ohio State is if they had to play Tennessee, because that would get their attention. Whether it's in Columbus or Knoxville, if they had to get Tennessee or Notre Dame, those 2 teams would get their attention right off the bat.
Right. All right, Fresh. We're gonna spend an entire episode arguing about Ohio State and Ryan Day here if we don't get moving on to this. Let's talk about this whole flag planting nonsense here as well. So first and foremost, I am not for planting the flag for anything. I don't know when this became a thing, but here's the thing. All right, you want to plant a flag? That's fine. Be ready for a fight. You be ready for a fight. Again, and this is the cause and effect thing. If you want to do that, then don't be angry when the home team players come out swinging. Fresh, I'll tell you this. I don't come over to – I don't think it's a good thing to do. You guys want to celebrate. You want to yuck it up. You want to dance. I don't care if you're dancing or anything. Like some people are like, oh, dancing on the logo and stuff like that. Listen, everyone always comes to the center of the field. You guys want to dance and what have you. There's a difference between taking like a symbol of your team and planting it into the thing. But again, I don't come over to your house, beat you in a game of Parcheesi, yell and scream, jump on your kitchen table and start trying to urinate all over your kitchen table or anything like that after winning a game of Parcheesi.
Now, before you go forward there, this is obviously a heated rivalry, Ohio State, Michigan. And rivalry weekend we talked about, like there are people whose their emotions run very high. It is a 365 event. What are your thoughts about the marching band, the Ohio State marching band doing an entire halftime show earlier in the year, doing a script out of a bear, taking a crap on the Michigan logo with literally the poop emoji coming out of the back of the bear, squatting down over the Michigan logo? How is that? That's not classy in my opinion. That's a complete disregard for the logo, and then them planting a flag in the middle of the field. In both those line, that is classless on both ends. If you can't have one without the other, and then going back, and then going to the previous
players
week.
Aren't there though.
But it's the university. You sent a message.
If you tell me
the band sent a message,
I'm fine with that as well.
But the band sent a message there, and all the fans of the state, they all loved it. Everyone's cheering, loving it. Oh, we're pooping on Michigan, and they plant a flag on your stadium after beating you. There has to be some sort of understanding of like, all right, we did a tit for tat. I get it. Now, if nothing had happened before, and this was a complete egregious thing, and they started chopping up, turf, because look, Florida State, they have a sod cemetery. And if they go get wins, they chop up people's turf and they take it back and they put it outside their practice facility. They've been doing that for 30, 40, 50 years. There are situations in rivalries. Georgia Tech, when they go in Athens, they take out the hedges. They plant the flag. There are bad things that happen. Texas, as Sarkisian sort of made a comment after the A&M game about, well, I don't want to have a fight. His own team, after beating Oklahoma this past year in the Cotton Bowl, put an Oklahoma jersey on the 50-yard line and smashed the Texas flag into it. Everyone does it all over the place. Baker Mayfield, when Oklahoma went up to beat Ohio State, he ran out in the middle of the Oklahoma flag and planted it at 50-yard line. It's been going on. It's in a rivalry, it gets much more heated. I think.
So don't be mad when fists start to fight, because here's the thing.
I totally agree. Like, if you're going to do it, you better be ready for the repercussions. It's something's right. You're going to have a brawl. So
the problem, sooner or later, that's going to become an even bigger problem too. Because here's the thing: we all know, and again, I'll use this as an NFL reference too. go back years ago with Myles Garrett taking his helmet and swinging it at Mason Rudolph. Now, allegedly, Mason Rudolph made some very
egregious comments.
And again, this is my problem. This may be a generational thing too, that we are, again, keyboard warriors. When me and you were growing up, you want to talk some smack to somebody. If you wanted to say something to them, you were ready to have someone take a swing at you if they felt the necessary thing to do it.
Fisticuffs.
And again, the thing I always respected is that if you could go throw some punches at each other and you shake hands afterwards after whatever happened to it, that's fine. But the fact is that some of these kids think that they can do or act however they want and then get offended. Like Mullins after the game. My biggest problem is Mullins, let's go back to him too. Not only got into a fight against Michigan State, but stomped on a assistant coach on the ground with his cleats and faced no penalty. Oh, we planted the flag and it was classless for how that they reacted. No, listen, man, you want to do this? Okay, do it. But then I got no problem with what Jack Sawyer did. I got no problem with what any of them are doing. And again, sooner or later, you're going to piss someone off so much that they're going to take that football helmet and turn it into a weapon.
Or the flagpole. Those things. Right. I think we all also need to step back as a general of the football games are intense. We have a rivalry. We got to stop taking it too serious. There are crazy people anywhere. I will take a little detour here. And if you watch NFL games, if you go online right now, there are fights of fans in the stands everywhere. And most of them, ironically, are 49ers fans are involved in it a lot, and so are Cowboys fans. But in some cases, they're even fighting their own fan base. People are just angry, and they just want to yell, and we get so emotionally pent up with a lot running on the line that things don't go our way. Somebody says something, we are immediately ready to fight. And you kind of brought up the keyboard warriors, where some people don't know how to react. They immediately just want to throw down. The whole planting the flag. All right, my cocky kind of 22-year-old self would be like, look, don't lose. I get it. You don't want someone to do this on your field? Don't lose. But we also need to sort of step back and say, all right, rivalries, they're important. They mean something to a lot of people. Got to have a time and place understanding. Whether it's a marching band doing something about a logo, or people throwing down flags, or mascots getting in each other's face, because obviously there was a fight between the Arizona State mascot. We all have to have an understanding that, look, it is intense. It means something to a lot of people, but we've all got to have an understanding that it's a game. It's a game. We've got to have a calm understanding that it's a game. We can let it go. We need to compete at a high level, but we've got to figure something out that's a little better, not taking it too far, because like your point, someone's going to start throwing helmets. We have equipment managers and assistant coaches don't have helmets on, don't have pads. What if someone missed with a helmet swinging and hit one of them and knocked them out? Then that becomes assault. We have a bigger issue on our hands. There's already a whole thing because the police officers tried to use pepper spray to calm down the situation. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I think today we're trying to just calm the situation down. There's probably going to be legal, situations because of that. This whole thing has just gotten out of hand. Someone brought up a great point. You know what? If you win a rivalry game, go find your marching band, go find your corner of the stadium, celebrate with them, get away, be done with it. And this also carries on to the fact of storming of the fields.
I'm against that too.
If we're not going to have planting the flags already an emotional, heightened period, we've got to get away from people storming the field, storming the courts, because you know what? Those happen immediately, and there's still opposing players, coaches, everyone else on the field, and then that's where emotions run high and things happen, whether right, wrong, or indifferent. There's a lot that goes into this whole equation of cooler heads. We want to celebrate, want to be successful, but we've got to figure out a more mature approach to some of these ideas. Letting these teams off the field, letting them celebrate in their own corner of the end zone with their own fans, directing them there, giving that prior instruction, or understating the moment of, hey guys, you know what? We got a big win. Let's take it to the locker room. We'll celebrate in there. Because you know what? In basketball games, the coolest thing I like seeing about a big upset win or a big win in an NCAA tournament is they're all there back in the locker room and the coach comes waddling in and crowd surfs or whatever. Give me locker room photos or videos of a win. I don't need it on the field unless it's in front of your own marching band, because that's how we kind of avoid some of these situations. There's got to be something done. It's got to be, we can't trust the NCAA to do it right, because they can't figure it out. Conference commissioners and the coaches have got to go down to these spring meetings, and they've got to figure something out. It's got to be a full-on ADs, marching band, cheerleaders, event safety, football coaches. Everyone's got to be on the same page of how we control these environments, because it is very heated and there's emotions everywhere. And people want to win, people want to lose. Everyone as an athlete knows it takes a little bit to come down from anything. You even mentioned it's taking you 36 to 48 hours to really calm down after a win. I don't think that you're going to be even calm in 2 days. These things emotionally we're invested in. It takes time. In the heat of the moment, anything can happen. We've got to have a little calmer situation. I think that's the biggest one that's going to be addressed, is like, the flag thing is stupid. I'll cockily, I'll cocky way up my irrational way to say, you know what, don't lose. You don't have to worry about it, but it's going to happen. We've got to get past it. We've got to figure something out. And there has to be people held accountable, and people looking, we have to have a penalty. And, we always say, like, why are the rules? Why are the things why do we have all these things? Well, seatbelts came into play because people were driving fast and they car accidents, and unfortunately bad things happen. That's why we have seatbelts. It makes sense. You put rules in place, you put devices in place to prevent, because you've learned from previous situations. It's college football, it's college basketball, it's college baseball. We love it. There's tradition, the pageantry, the event, the emotion, but we've got to find cooler ways to celebrate and enjoy the success without adding more chaos and undue stress, because if that had gotten worse, and we start people getting bloodied or punched, or innocent bystanders getting hit, we have a real big problem. And it takes a special, cool event, and it makes it a tragedy. And we want to avoid that before it becomes worse.
Yeah. And you could have seen it. You take a look at what happened throughout. It wasn't just in Columbus either. It was in the North Carolina NC State game.
I think 11 games across the country on Saturday, because Sickos committee online was keeping track. They had a tracker. There were 11 post-game fights. 11. Now, the one thing that, of all the fights, the one that made zero sense to me, Florida State planting your flag in Tallahassee. You beat a 2-10 football team.
Right.
You're better than that. Like, you're 7-5. You got to know time and place. Like, if it is Michigan, Ohio State, there were some emotions there. I get it. But Florida, you want to show that you're a more mature program? You should be at the point, I don't even think about Florida State. Like, I'm 7-5. Right. They're 2-10. They're completely outside my brain. And maybe that's the biggest that's the biggest diss you could probably send to the Rise. Like, I don't even think of you. Like, I don't even think about, kind of like the line from, Mad Men. It's like, I don't even think of you. I don't even think of you all. Like, I expected to win. It's not special to me.
Well, I give a lot of credit to Billy Napier, though. He tried to do the best he could to stop that was going on there as well. Sarkisian did a great job, too, because he stopped the kids from doing it altogether. I think he probably was aware of the things that had happened previously. It's like, now,
you sort of see the day spiraling.
And again, at a place like Kyle Field, again, it only takes one idiot to really do something bad that things get completely out of control.
And to bring this on a little funny angle, during the game, I was actually following on Twitter. I was following the A&M Police Department because they were tweeting out all the arrests and updates. There was obviously a guy literally riding a steer through the tailgate area with a dog on him, and another dude riding a horse. Like, it looked like something out of Yellowstone. There were multiple people who were drunk, disorderly, ejected from the game and handed off to sober friend. And then one poor guy who was handed off to his poor sober wife. So I got a feeling he lost twice or maybe 3 times that night, having to make her be embarrassed and driving home. But that at least, you talk about crazy things happening. There was at least 12, 15 tweets about people being ejected for being drunk and disorderly, whatever. And to your point, things escalate. Things get nuts and crazy. And you never know how it could even go. We've seen Texas fans throw stuff on the field. We've seen Tennessee fans throw mustard bottles versus Ole Miss. There's been times where people throw batteries at people. Like, you get drunk, disorderly, have devices, things start happening. It gets out of control in a nasty, nasty way.
Right. Well, it seems weird because this is how we're going to cap off rivalry week there as well, man.
Actually, I think this embodies rivalry week, though. It's kind of like, I think it got too extreme. There's a lot of emotion. And And I'll
that's
say one
crazy.
thing, but I'll say one thing though. NIL, the transfer portal, we kind of thought, do these players actually care? Are they there just for the NIL paycheck? And yeah, we told they're professional athletes, but with the emotion and the upsets and some of this, people, whether it's immaturity wanting to fight or just having, you've been dissed, but at least some
Right.
people actually gave a damn. And it kind of gives you sort of
True.
some hope that, like, you know what? With everything going on and being, players for hire, some people actually showed that they truly, had emotion, across the board, whether they were fighting for 6-6 or for 7-5 or 5-7 seasons, they actually cared. And it gives you kind of a glimmer of hope that maybe there is still some of that amateurism and that pride. But we've got to find ways to tone it and rein it in a little bit. We got to avoid the Harvey Updike, type actions of killing trees. I mean, those sort of things.
Right. We'll see. And again, hopefully this does bring on some changes, and it will be for the better of everybody here and for the safety of everybody too, because the last thing is you ever want to see is one of these events turn truly tragic and see something not good happen. Other than that, Fresh, it was a great rivalry week, a lot of fun. I wish I was in a much better mood than I am now. And again, it's going to take me a little bit. I'll probably still not be in a very great mood when we record our conference title game. Maybe when we break down the playoff field, I might be back to my normal self. I'm just completely annoyed by this whole situation as well. But it is what it is. And again, at least we're passionate about sports that we can be and have these types of feelings and be angry and joy and all sorts of other crazy stuff. So,
All right. Ohio State's in the playoff. Like I said, the regular season's been a gauntlet, but here we go. Ohio State's in the playoff. Georgia's probably getting in the playoff. SMU, hopefully they beat Clemson and they're in the playoff. There's going to be a lot of cool stories. Iowa State or Arizona State. One of those teams is going to be in the playoff. Boise State's going to be in the playoff. Indiana is probably going to be in the playoff. We're going to still get some really cool scenarios. We're going to get some great matchups.
right.
And it's going to, I think, revive. We're going to have a cool down period here. Conference championship games, it's kind of being a little diluted though, because like in the Big Ten and the SEC, those four teams are going to all make the playoff.
Right.
It's the winner go home in the ACC and Big 12 that are really going to cause some chaos, and really have people on the edge of their seat. But that's what we do. Every game means something, and it's winner go home time for just about everybody else going forward.
Did you see though that on ESPN's playoff predictor? Did you see the team that still has a 2% chance of making it?
Florida State? No, I'm joking.
Nope.
Well, first of all, ESPN's FPI and their power rankings have been a complete trash and joke all year long.
Right. Agreed. I think ESPN's garbage at times. So
Miami is my guess, 2%, or
no, they're 24% still.
Or Missouri,
30%. Nope. This is a group of 5 team. Not Army.
Not Tulane, not Memphis.
And not UNLV. This is a team we have not talked about all year long, and somehow that I have to look up to why they have a 2% chance.
Jacksonville State, Marshall, Louisiana.
Louisiana Raging Cajuns.
Hey, they got 10 wins, man. They're not even ranked in the top 25, so that's gonna be one heck of a jump. If they beat Marshall in the title game, but that'll be. Imagine that if LSU and Tulane don't make it, but Louisiana made the playoff. How much bragging rights will they have in that state? That
I don't know. This is crazy.
Boat race, I think. I mean, hey, crazy things happen, but I think Army would have a better chance in the playoff than Louisiana would. But you know what? That's why they play the games.
Right. So, all right, Fresh. It's another great episode here, folks. Thanks for listening to us go on and on about some crazy stuff that happened in Rivalry. Hit that subscribe button. Hey, we are so close to 2,000 subscribers onto the YouTube channel. So make sure you're hitting the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Get notified every single time we drop a brand new episode. You don't want to miss out on a single moment here because we got so much coming out at you. And Fresh, I will say this right now. We have just tonight, because I checked it earlier today, just tonight we have crossed the 2,000 subscribers to the YouTube channel. Wow. That is amazing. That's
Thank
amazing.
you all. 2K, keep pushing it higher.
Thank you all.
Keep pushing it higher.
Oh, and one last thing, Fresh. We should have led this off as well. We do want to send some prayers out to one of our most avid supporters out there. She knows who she is. We want to make sure that she's doing well. It looks like she's going to make a great recovery. She's going to kick out of whatever she had going on. But again, both Fresh and I are sending prayers your way, and can't wait for you to make a speedy recovery as well. And need to make sure that we put that in there for the record.
100%. Thoughts and prayers. Keep fighting. Keep getting better. Looking forward to having those dialogues back, and you're gonna. It's gonna be awesome when you get fully back. Keep going through it. If you need anything, we're here for you.
Yep. Special thanks to our producer, Drew. Without him, none of this is possible. Make sure you're checking out SpinnableSports.com because the Irrational Competence Podcast is part of SpinnableSports.com. Like, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Leave us that 5-star review. You know, Fresh and I were those 2 5-star prospects. Engage with us on social media. Interact with us. Fresh, the regular season's over. It is on to conference championship week. Who knows? We'll see what that will bring for all of us. A lot of craziness, and maybe, just maybe, the Raging Cajuns may be in the playoff. Give me some SMU Raging Cajun action. I love that.
If we get SMU, if we get Louisiana versus SMU in any kind of playoff situation, I will hand you $200.
All right. I love it. I love it. You heard it here, folks.
Folks, you heard it here. If that happens, I will do it on our next record. I'll hold the money up and give it to them.
That sounds good.
We got 9 championship games coming up. I can't wait to do the previews for those. It's an exciting time. The playoff, how the committee is going to put that field together. We'll know on Tuesday night really kind of where they schedule up that and how they have Boise State and the ACC and the Big 12 teams sort of line up. Will give us a good gauge on how they're going to sit, coming in that week. Tune in with us, spread the word, hit us up at SpinnableSports.com. And with that, we'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.